Students, welcome to the science class. In last session, under the chapter of heat, we studied about how the heat will we feel and how we are going to measure the heat or how we are going to measure the temperature with the help of the laboratory thermometer and also with the help of the clinical thermometer. And also we studied the what are the features of the clinical thermometer and also the what are the features of the laboratory thermometer. In today's session, we are going to discuss how the heat will be transferred from one place, from the one part of an object towards another part, and how the heat will be transferred from one place to the another place we are going to study in this session. And also we will discuss here what are the dresses we are going to wear in the summer session and the winter session, what is the reason behind that, and also in the seas, in the coastal area, the windows of the homes are facing towards the sea. Why they are going to facing towards the sea? What is the reason behind that? That will be discussed, that will be studied in today's session. So I will start this session with the transfer of heat. How the heat will be transferred? I am going to tell one activity here. Light a candle and you have to place a spoon. You have to place a spoon on it near to the light. So wait for few minutes. What happens before placing the spoon towards the light? The spoon will be in a cool stage, isn't it? You are heating only the one part of the spoon, isn't it? If you imagine that this is the spoon, and imagine that this is the candle. If you are placing the one end of the spoon towards the light, after sometimes this end will be also heated. What happens here? The heat will be the spoon will be heated here, but the heat will be moved towards here, isn't it? This is the hotter side. The heat will be moved towards cooler side. This is the hotter side, this is the cooler side. So the place at which you are placing the spoon towards the light, it is a hotter side, but the place at which you are holding the spoon, it is a cooler side. What happens here? The heat will be transferred from the hotter side to the cooler side. This is nothing but the transfer of the heat, and this process is known as the conduction of the heat. What is the conduction of the heat here? The process by which heat transfers from hotter end to the cooler end is known as the conduction. So how the heat will be transferred in the metals? That is by the hotter end to the cooler end. This process is known as the conduction of the heat. How the heat will be transferred in the metal? By the help of the conduction. So the materials which are going to be heat will be conducted, that are called it as a conductors. What are conductors? The materials which conduct the current, heat, are called conductors. Here all the metals are the good conductors. For example, I am taking another one activity here. Light a candle and take one rod, small thin rod of iron or any metal rod. Is got understood? So you have to place a small rod and you have to put small drops of the candle or wax, the small wax of the candle in a such a way that you have to put 2 to 3 drops of 3 spots of the wax on the metal, and you have to place this metal towards the light. For few times, for about 5 minutes. What happen here? When you are going to place the metal towards the light, after few minutes, one by one spots of the wax will be, what happened here? What happened in the wax? what happens here, that will be melted. When you are going to place this metal towards the light, the first wax will be melted. It is not the last wax will be melted. First first wax will be melted. After few minutes, the second wax will be melted. After few minutes, the third wax will be melted. After 4 minutes, the fourth wax will be melted. And after 5th minute, the fifth wax will be melted. And after that, you feel that you are the holding side, the heat will becomes, and you feel that somewhat hot, isn't it? What proves here, what the activity says here, the heat will be transferred from, this is the hotter end, and it will be transferred from hotter end towards cooler end. The heat always transfers from the hotter end towards cooler end. The process by which heat transfers from the hotter end towards cooler end is known as the conductor, and it is known as a conduction, and the materials which conduct the heat are called as a conductors. Examples for the conductors are metals like iron, aluminium. Then next, you have take any metal, gold, silver, all the metals are the good conductors of the heat. But I am taking another one example here. If you place any plastic material, if you are placing a plastic pen, if you are holding, is it heat will be transmitted from one end to the another end. If you are holding a small wood piece, if you are holding a small stick, wooden stick, what happens here? Is it heat transfers from the hotter end towards colder end? No, the heat doesn't transfers here. Why? Because these are not the conductors. So the materials which doesn't conduct the heat, materials which does not conduct heat are called insulators. The materials, the objects which does not conduct the current are called insulators. The example for the insulators are plastic materials, isn't it? Wood materials. Air is a poor conductor of heat. You have to remember, air is a poor conductor of heat, and etc. So these are not the conductors, these are insulators. Is it clear? So we studied about, we know about how the heat will be transferred in the object, in the some of the metals or in the non-metals, like that way how it will be transmitted from the hotter end to the cooler end. We know now. But how the heat will be transmitted in the water, how the heat will be transmitted, how the heat will be transfers in the water, I am going to tell this by the activity. Take a tumbler, you have to place small pieces, or you have to place the bindis which your mother going to use, stickers. You have to place small stickers at the bottom of the tumbler, and you have to pour the water in a such a way that the water doesn't disturb the sticker, isn't it? You have to place very carefully that stickers at the bottom of the tumbler, and now you have to start heating that tumbler. So I am considering here, this is tumbler, so these are the stickers. If you are going to heat this tumbler, what happens here? If you are going to heat this tumbler, after few minutes, these stickers will move towards upper side. You have to observe very clearly, these stickers moving towards upwards by one. Why they are moving? What happens here? So what happens here, it is, when you are going to hit the bottom of the tumbler, the water contains at the bottom of the tumbler will be heated, isn't it? When the water molecules which are present at the bottom will be heated first. When these are heated, the density of that water, the weight of that water decreases. the weight of this water become decreases and move towards upper side. Why? Because when any object which has a less density, which has a less weight, that will be moved towards upward side. Why? Because the object which has a more density or more weight will be pulled or will be make some pressure towards the lower density objects, the lower weight objects. What happens here? This lower part of the water, when it is heated, the water molecules becomes lighter, the density of the water becomes decreases, and therefore the cold water has the high density than the hot water, and also the cold water has the high weight than the hot water. Therefore this hot water moves towards upside, and these cold water will comes towards downside. So by means of this, the heat will be transmitted in the water. Is it clear? So this type of the process of heat which transfers in the water, it is known as the convection. This is the method. That which method it is? The convection method. In the water, the heat will be transferred by the help of the convection method. So when we are going to hot the water, we are going to check the water by checking the upper side of the water, isn't it? Why? Because the hot water, we are heating the water at the bottom side, we are checking the water whether the water is hot or not at the upper side. How it is possible? Because these the lower side, the water which is heated at the lower side, at the bottom, will comes at the upper side. So due to the light, the weight of the hot water molecules, that will becomes decreases the density, the weight of the water molecules also decreases and will comes towards upper side, and the cold water which is present at the upper side will fill that place which is present at the bottom, and then it will starts heating. So the continuous process will be continued here. So why we are going to check the water which is present at the surface, we are going to check it is whether it is a hot or not. So the transfer of heat in water by this means it is nothing but the convection method. The mode of heat transfer in the water is by the method of convection. It is very important here. So another one activity I am taking here, if you are going to heat the water with the help of the heater coil, you are going to put the heater coil in a tumbler, isn't it? The heater coil is just like that, isn't it? You are going to put this heater coil in the water tumbler. What happened here? If you see very carefully, what happened here? The bottom part of the water only be heated, isn't it? The bottom part of the water only heated here. Why? Because why the bottom part of the water only will be heated? We are heating the water at the upper side, not the bottom side. Is it clear? We are heating the water because this heater coil doesn't reaches the upper side. So the lower side, this heater coil doesn't reaches the lower side. The lower side water will be heated. If you clearly observe the heated water, the upper side water only will be heated here. The lower side it is not heated in the heater coil. When you are going to use heat, when you are going to heat the water by using the heater coil, what happens here? This coil will heat the upper part of the water. As we know already, when the water will be heated, the water molecule loses its weight and it will get collected at the upper part. So therefore it is already in the upper part, it will not move towards downward part. So this water will stay only here. The cycle it is not completed here. Therefore the upper part of the water only heated when we are going to use heater coils. The lower part will be very cold because it doesn't move. Due to the high weight, it will be present at the bottom only. These are present, the hot water is present at the upper side, it will stay at the upper side. It will doesn't comes towards downward side. Is it clear? So the transfer of the heat in the water, it is by the method called convection. So how the heat will be transmitted in the air? In the air also heat will be transmitted by the help of the convection. What happens here? I am taking another one example. Take a candle, light it, place one hand by side and one hand at the upper part of the light for few minutes. Which hand you are going to, which hand you feel that it becomes hot? Yes, obviously the upper hand feels hot. Why? Because the air molecules which are present at the part of the light will become heated and become lighter and moves towards upper side. When the any object, when the oxygen molecules when the air molecules becomes heated, there will be the weight will it decreases its density, it decreases its weight and moves towards upper side. Therefore, the heat will be transmitted through convection. Is it clear? So in the air also, heat will be transferred by the help of the convection. So another one important thing I am discussing here, in the coastal area they are seeing very interesting phenomenon. What it is that during the day the land gets heated very faster. In the coastal area, what happens that during the day the land will be get heated very fastly. I am considering, if you are just imagine that this is the land, this is the land, these are the homes. Consider that, just imagine these are the homes. Okay, this is the land and this is the water and this is the coastal. So what happens here, during the day what happens, the land get heated very faster than the water which is present in the sea. The land get heated very faster than the water. At the level of the land, the air which is present at the land becomes heated, it becomes hotter and comes and it will be rises up. The heat air, the hot air, the hotter air, due to the heat of the land, it will be rises up. And the cold air, so the cold air which is present on the surface of the water will move towards the land and it occupies the hot air place. You have to clearly observe here what happens here. During the daytime in the coastal plain, the land will be get heated very faster than the water. It will be get heated very faster than the water. When the land will be get very faster than the water, the upper surface, the surface of the land, the air is present, that air will be heated and rises up. Isn't it? When the air will be heated, the density and the weight of the air will be decreases and will be rises up due to the convection method, isn't it? So that air will be rises up and the place will be emptied here, and that place will be fulfilled by the cold air which comes from the sea. The cold air from the sea will occupies the space of the hot air which is present in the land at the daytime, and this hot air it will move towards the sea to occupy the cold air place, and the air which comes from the sea, the cold air which comes from the sea towards the land, the cold air which comes from the land towards the the cold air which comes from the sea towards the land, it is called it as a sea breeze. Why we are going to call it as a sea breeze? Because the cold air from the sea comes towards the land, therefore it is called it as a sea breeze. So in the coastal areas, all the homes has the windows, they are facing towards the sea. Why? Because why they are going to face that windows towards the sea? Because to receive the cold air from the sea by the help of the sea breeze, isn't it? So this is the reason why in the coastal areas all the homes they have the windows, they are facing towards the sea. And what happens during the night? It is a deadly opposite to the sea breeze. What happens during the night? During night in the coastal area, what happens? The water which is heated during the day, so the water which is present in the sea and also the land, they are simultaneously going to be heated by the sunlight, isn't it? But during the night what happens? The water cools down more slowly than the land, so the heated land and the heated water. So during the night the land cools very faster, the water cools very faster than the land. During the night water cools down more slowly than the land. water cools down more slowly than the land. The land cools very quickly than the water. So the hot air which is present at the water surface will move towards upside, and the cold air which is present in the land comes towards the water surface. Is it clear? The cold air which is present in the land comes towards the sea. What happens? Once again I am repeating here. During the night, the water cools very slowly than the land. The land cools very quickly than the water. So when the water will cools very slow than the land, the oxygen molecules or the air molecules which are present on the upper part of the water will be heated and will be moved towards upside, and the cool air from the land moves towards the water and it will occupies the hot air place, and that hot air will be comes towards the land. So the cold air which comes from the land towards the sea, it is called it as a land bridge. It is land bridge. These are the two important and a very interesting phenomenon which the coastal area peoples are going to be, they are going to be feel. So that what are nothing but that is a sea bridge and another one is a land bridge. What is here? In simple, the cold air which comes from the sea towards land, sea towards land, the cold air which comes from the sea towards land, it is called it as a sea bridge. The cold air which comes from the land towards sea, that is called it as a land bridge. Is it clear? So these are the very important phenomena which the coastal area peoples are going to be, they are filled. So next one thing is, not the heat is not only transmitted or transferred by the conduction, and it is not only transferred by the convection, but also it is transmitted by the radiations. For example, you are presenting on the earth, between the sun and the earth, or between the sun and you, there is no medium after onwards the earth, but also the heat will be transmitted from the transferred from the sun and with you, isn't it? How it is transferred? By the radiations. Heat will be transmitted by the radiations also. What happens here? When the heat will be falls on other body, some part of the heat will be absorbed by the body, some part of the heat will be transferred by the body, and some part of the heat will be radiated by the body. Due to that radiations, other object will be heated. So the heat will be transferred by another mode, that is called it as a radiations. Is it clear? And so that's why in the summer session we get more radiations from the sun. So the dark colored cloth absorbs more amount of the heat from the sun. So in the summer session we are going to prepare to use, or we are like to use the light colored cotton cloths. Why? Because it doesn't absorb the light and it keeps our body very cool. And also in the winter season we are going to use the woolen cloths, isn't it? We are going to use the woolen cloths. So why? Because in the woolen cloths the small oxygen is present at the holes. As we know already, oxygen or air is a bad conductor of heat, so it keeps our body very warm. So therefore in the winter season we use woolen cloths to keep our body warm, and also in the summer session we use light colored cotton cloths to keep our body very cool. So this is all about the chapter heat. In the next session we are going to continue your next lesson of your 7th class. So thank you.